I know this isn't the way many of us hoped we'd spend our holiday. We know that a small act of staying home is a gift to our fellow Americans. Yes, it's a personal sacrifice that each of our families can make and should make to save somebody else's life. But it's also a shared sacrifice for the whole country, a statement of common purpose that says we care about one another and we're all in this together.
As you just heard there, President-elect Joe Biden is urging Americans to stay safe and follow coronavirus guidelines during the holiday season. At the same time, he's calling for unity, asking the nation to come together without actually coming together for the Thanksgiving weekend. CBS News correspondent Nikole Killion is traveling with the president-elect and joins us from Delaware. Thanks so much for being with us, Nikole. We appreciate it. How do you think the message we just heard from President-elect Biden is showing how he may approach addresses to the nation? It seems to be a lot about unity.
Well, and that has really been the president-elect's message for some time now, whether you look back at his election night victory speech, whether you look at his messaging from the campaign. He really has been calling for Americans to put partisanship aside. And we heard him in that Thanksgiving message or in a Thanksgiving message earlier this week, in fact, say, you know, we are at war with the virus, that we shouldn't be at war with each other. And I'm paraphrasing, but that is in essence the message from the president-elect on this, because look, his team knows that this is going to take some time to address the pandemic, and so he has been very clear about encouraging Americans to, as you mentioned, follow these guidelines. Almost every opportunity he has, he is telling people to wear a mask, to stay socially distanced, and in the case of Thanksgiving, he did encourage people to limit their family gatherings, and he acknowledged he did the same as far as he and his family. Normally he goes to Nantucket. He didn't do that this year, and he did have a scaled down Thanksgiving with a smaller group of family members. So that continues to be the message that we hear from the president-elect. I would also stress that he also has tried to project a sense of empathy, a sense of steadiness, a sense of calm, and that too has been part of his messaging, not only in what you heard there, but has been kind of throughout many of his comments over the last several weeks here.
Yeah, he's someone who's dealt with grief his whole life, so empathy, especially when coronavirus, seems to be something he's well versed in. Let's talk about the transition now. Earlier this week, the GSA turned over access to federal funding and resources. What have the conversations been like that you know about between the Biden team and the Trump administration?
Well, we do know that the Biden transition team has ramped up its talks with the administration in earnest now that it has that ascertainment from GSA. So the Biden transition has been in touch with all federal agencies. We know earlier this week, members of the team were in touch with, for instance, the Department of Health and Human Services on Operation Warp Speed, which of course is the administration's current vaccination and distribution program. And that was something critical that the Biden team had been seeking to do, because again, they have made clear that the coronavirus certainly will be one of their priorities from day one. So they have been able to start having some of those discussions, not only with HHS, but also with people like Dr. Anthony Fauci. And then, of course, as I mentioned, you know, they've been in touch with a range of other federal agencies as well on all fronts, whether it's health, whether it's national security, and other matters.
Nikole, the president-elect has already announced some of his cabinet picks, including Secretary of State and Homeland Security. He'll need the Senate to be in Democratic control to ensure his nominees are confirmed. But control of the Senate will be decided after the Georgia runoff in January. President Trump says he plans to campaign in the state. Does Mr. Biden plan to get involved in any way over the next month and a half?
Well, the president-elect's chief of staff, Ron Klain, has said that it's likely the president-elect will go down to Georgia at some point before the election. And look, the transition knows that this is a critical election, critical races, and a critical state. I mean, they flipped the state of Georgia. No one has done that really in several decades. And so they realize the importance and value of the state. They invested a lot in it during the campaign and, of course, have been keeping tabs as far as the recount when that was occurring in the state. And so as far as these two Senate races, I would expect that wouldn't be any different.
Nikole Killion, thank you so much for joining us. Appreciate it.